What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Draft Hub. Today, we are rolling right along with my picks for week 5 of the 2025-26 NFL season. Last week was an interesting one to say the least, but if you guys are keeping track as well as I am, this week's record, I'm going to count one as a tie because if you are quick with math like I am, you could see that there's one game off from the 64 games that have been played through the NFL season so far. So we're going to make it a 45, 18, and 1 record, good enough for the 93rd percentile on ESPN. So yeah, last past week was unreal. We really had some really good games, some good comebacks, some late comebacks as well. An amazing tie that we'll get to that in a little bit, but yeah, we're going to roll right along with these picks for week 5. But before we get into it, please leave a like and please subscribe to the channel if you are new and you enjoy content just like this. If you enjoy my college football pick'em, which that admittedly that series doesn't really do as well, but that's okay. I still have a blast keeping track of how I'm doing and having fun with that one as well. If you like NFL draft prospect profiles, NFL draft gems, mock drafts, whatever it may be, I'm your guy. I upload every single day. I try my very best to not miss a day. And if I do miss a day, then I upload 6 times a week. It is what it is. But please show your support for the channel. We were kind of cruising towards 500 subscribers at the time of recording. We're at 382. And I started this channel in April. So that means a whole heck of a lot to me. So let's see how far we could take it before the end of 2025. Without further delay, let's get into it. Like I said before, 45, 18, and then we're going to put 1 here for that is the record of the pick'em through 4 weeks. Actually, my best 4-week start to date, to be quite honest with you. So we're going to roll along to the Thursday night football game here between the San Francisco 49ers and the Los Angeles Rams. And this is astonishingly one-sided. These two always play a very close divisional game. I feel like anytime really NFC West teams get together, it's always a topsy-turvy battle, regardless of how good or bad all the teams are. But yeah, the 49ers and the Rams. The Rams are coming off of a really nice comeback victory against the Indianapolis Colts. You know, a couple of touchdowns late in the game sealed it for them. A huge touchdown to Tutu Atwell, a touchdown to Puka Nacua, who had a career day, 13 catches, 170 yards, and a score. Unbelievable. The San Francisco 49ers, who admittedly in last week's pick'em, I kind of said might have gotten off to a little bit of a fraudulent 3-0 start, kind of got humbled a little bit by the Jacksonville Jaguars at home. The Jaguars defense, which is surprisingly elite so far this year, has forced 13 turnovers. They forced 4 turnovers against the 49ers on Sunday. And yeah, this 49ers team, I think we're kind of learning a little bit faster or a little bit slower than we thought that without a Deebo Samuel or without a Brandon Ayuk on the field and a George Kittle, this offense is surprisingly flat. And as good as Christian McCaffrey has been so far this year, he's been awesome so far, being healthy, being a do-it-all guy. He can't do it alone. And Juwan Jennings hasn't been fully healthy. Ricky Pearsall has been really nice so far this year for the 49ers, but Purdy didn't look great in his first start since week 1. I think the Rams are a really well-oiled machine. Now, mind you, this Rams team is a blocked field goal away from being 4-0 and beating, the defending champions away from home. They've beat the Houston Texans. They've had a couple of tough matchups so far this year against some pretty rough and rowdy defenses. They're a field goal away from being 4-0 at this point. And I don't think the Rams have played as peak of football as they're playing right now. I think the 49ers are kind of hurting going into this game. I think you got to give me the Rams here on Thursday Night Football against the 49ers. I think a short week with players that still aren't fully 100%. Christian McCaffrey is never at 100%. I'm fully convinced Juwan Jennings still isn't at 100%. Maybe Brock Purdy isn't either. This Rams team is firing on all cylinders on both sides of the football. I fully expect the Rams to come away with a win here on Thursday Night Football. Then you have probably the unluckiest team in the NFL in the Minnesota Vikings having to play the first ever Dublin game in week 4 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Then they're going to have to stay in the UK and play a London game against the Cleveland Browns. Lucky for them, I think the Browns are going to be a little bit better of an opponent than the Pittsburgh Steelers were. The Vikings really did have a chance to win the game, or at least they had a drive with less than 2 minutes left to potentially win the game. They did come up short. The defense is really showing cracks early on in the season, especially the pass defense. So that is something to note as well. 2-2 I don't know at the time of recording. I always record these early on in the week. I like to get them out to you guys early. I try and get them out as the first YouTuber to get them out for the upcoming week. I don't know if JJ McCarthy's playing. I don't think he is. I think it's the Carson Wentz show again. But man, Wentz threw for almost 400 yards, and he really wasn't one of the primary reasons why the Vikings didn't win the first ever Dublin game. The defense did clamp down in the second half a little bit, but the first half they were gouged early and often. The Browns are just the Browns. I mean, they've had a couple rough go of it so far this year. Playing the Baltimore Ravens, they gave up more than 40. They gave up 40 to the Detroit Lions this past week. I mean, their offense is completely anemic at this point. Even a healthy and fully 100% Quishon Judkins at this point, even though he has looked really, really good to start his NFL career, even he is not really a difference maker for this Cleveland Browns team. I could only imagine the last couple weeks where this team would be if it wasn't for Quishon Judkins, who kind of powered them to their victory against the Packers and, was really the only bright spot against the Detroit Lions. The defense did get gashed, but that is a super high-powered offense. I fully expect the Vikings to kind of come out swinging here and kind of to not respect the Cleveland Browns offensive line and really the passing offense at all. This is the game that could potentially get this team back on track defensively. I'm going with the Minnesota Vikings in London against the Cleveland Browns here. They need a much needed victory here. Then you have the Raiders and the Colts. And again, the Colts, man, this team is for real. I'm not even joking you. Daniel Jones looks like not only a competent quarterback, but like a top 12 to 15 quarterback in the NFL, maybe even higher than that. He really does play some competent football again. And he's got another pretty easy, especially on the defensive side, easy opponent in the Las Vegas Raiders this week. The Colts, again, were a late touchdown given up away from being in position to be 4-0 at this point, 3-1, going back home against the Las Vegas Raiders, who are coming off of a heartbreaking loss to the Chicago Bears. What was that, at one point? What was it, 25-24? Something like that. So something close to that, 26-25, whatever it may be, a blocked field goal at home, and they did lose. They are 1-3. The good news is Ashton Jeanty looks like he has found himself. He was fantastic against the Chicago Bears defense in a breakout performance that was much needed. Geno Smith has actually been terrible, in my opinion, throughout the first 4 games of the year. You take away 3 touchdowns to Trey Tucker in essentially mop-up duty. I mean, yeah, there was still time left in the game, but they were playing from multiple scores behind. The defense is obviously going to be a little bit more lax. So you take those 3 touchdowns away, and Geno Smith is having a god-awful 2025 season with Pete Carroll. Give me the Colts in this one. I think they get back on track. The defense is kind of sort of firing on all cylinders. A big touchdown given up to Tutu Atwell late in the game last week. The defensive lapses are going to happen. What are you going to do? Give me the Colts over the Raiders in this one. And then you have the Giants and the Saints here. I really like what I saw from Jackson Dart. The way that I best described his NFL debut was the Giants didn't ask him to do a whole lot, but whatever they asked him to do, he did well. Clearly is an electric presence on that football field for them. He is hype. He is just the epitome of energy on that field, and really a really impressive, no easy task, a Jim Harbaugh and Jesse Minter led defense, regardless if you're home or away. That's an impressive feat to kind of go in there. That's a really tough first game of your career, especially with the Giants. They lost Malik Neighbors, so this is a tough one. The Saints again are kind of, I keep saying it, their record isn't really an indication of how they played so far this year. I think they played fairly well against some really tough opponents. They took the 49ers to the edge. They took the Cardinals to the edge. They took the Bills far enough. Really, their only blowout was against the 49ers. I mean, the Seahawks. But yeah, I mean, this team isn't that bad. I don't think that they get off the schneid, though. I really do think the Giants have a good thing going, especially on the defensive side. Replacing Malik Neighbors is going to be just a monumental task that's probably not going to be – you're not going to be able to do it. But they do have some nice pieces that could step up. They still have Wan'Dale Robinson. They have Darius Slayton. They have Theo Johnson. Cam Scadaboo has looked like an absolute lunatic so far in his NFL career. I think they got good things going. The offensive line looks pretty good. Jackson Dart is a spark plug. The defense, the pressure really got into Justin Herbert last week. I think the Giants pull off this win away from home against the Saints. I truly think they do because the Saints really just haven't been able to get a whole lot going passing wise in this offense under Spencer Rattler. So I think it might be time for Tyler Shuck at 0-4. You kind of know what you're going to get from Spencer Rattler at this point. You might as well just throw the second round rookie in there. If he's ready or not, you might as well just throw him in there anyway. But give me the Giants over the Saints in this one. The Cowboys and the Jets. My New York Jets. Boy, I can't believe that the Cowboys are only favored at 145. I mean, that seems ludicrous. I know that it's away from home, but the Jets have looked absolute. I think the Jets have been the worst team in football this year, especially on the defensive side. Offensively, they have their moments. Justin Fields, honestly, as a Justin Fields skeptic, I don't think he's looked bad. I mean, the whole entire team looked bad against Buffalo, so you take that with a grain of salt. You know, in his other two starts this year against Pittsburgh and then against the Dolphins, he actually really played well. That there's really no other way to go around it. He has played well. Granted, the Jets have been, well, I can't even say that because in the Pittsburgh game, they were playing up for the majority of that game. But he played well down the stretch against the Dolphins. It's just the defense can't stop a goddamn nosebleed. The defense is easily, in my opinion, the worst unit in football. I mean, granted, listen, you lose C.J. Mosley, you cut ties with C.J. Mosley. They lost Quincy Williams to the IR. Bits and pieces of players here and there go. They lost DJ Reed, who was a big part of that secondary as well. They really didn't do a lot to upgrade the pass rush. They really didn't do a whole lot to upgrade the secondary either. They threw $45 million or whatever it was at Brandon Stevens and said, here you go, be terrible here. So really, what did we expect? I truly, the Cowboys to me are a really exciting 1-2-1 team. I feel like the record is not indicative of how they played. I think the Cowboys come into MetLife Stadium on Sunday and promptly blow the Jets out of the water without CeeDee Lamb. I'm talking like the Cowboys might hang 60 points on the New York Jets this weekend. I'm confident in saying that the Jets are probably going to get absolutely handled by this Cowboys team. And I'm going to take the Cowboys. I mean, it could be a lot higher scoring than we think because the Jets, when they get going, their offense, Tanner Engstrand actually puts together a pretty decent game plan. I just wish they had someone else to throw to at the wide receiver position other than Garrett Wilson. I saw he's got a 34% target share through 4 weeks. That's like ungodly numbers because they truly have no one else that could kind of step up and be that wide receiver too. I don't even think a wide receiver two caught a pass on Monday Night Football. I think it was Garrett Wilson, Mason Taylor, and Breece Hall were like the only three guys to catch passes, or like Jeremy Ruckert, and then maybe a catch or two from Josh Reynolds or Tyler Johnson. Really, it's just been brutal. You need to if you're serious about it, you need to get someone in there under contract, a young player or something. That's why I don't really understand why they cut ties with Malachi Corley. But listen, I digress. The Dallas Cowboys, I feel like, are going to kind of hang some brain on the New York Jets this Sunday, and I'm fully prepared at this point. This is a tough one here. You get the Broncos and the Eagles. I presume that the Eagles are home on this. Sometimes the ESPN Pick'em plays a trick on me, and sometimes the teams on the right aren't at home, and I feel like being at home sometimes really does make a difference for me as someone who picks these games. So, I would like to know who's truly home and who's away, but. The Denver Broncos and the Philadelphia Eagles, the Broncos had a really nice win. They really needed that win against the lowly Cincinnati Bengals. Yeah, Bo Nix easily with his best performance of the year. He looked like the Bo Nix of last year. He threw for over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. He rushed for another touchdown. The defense looked really, really good. And that's another thing, too. The defense had to get right. They had to get better. And they played very, very well. But then the Eagles on the other, I mean, you know what? The Eagles can't really pass the football, I've noticed. They really struggle passing the football. I don't know how they score as many points as they do, to be honest with you, because, I mean, they really do struggle. I think this is going to be closer than expected. By the way, these are subject to change. I do, as I see fit, as the information for the week comes out. Like, say I pick the Eagles here, and then Jalen Hurts is magically, out for the game with like a concussion or something, on Friday or whatever it may be. I'm going to choose the Broncos. I'm not going to ride with the same pick as the information runs in. That's how I'm going to make my decisions. But Yeah, I don't know. This is a tough one for me. I think it's going to be closer, but man, the Eagles just know how to eke out these close games, especially when they're at home. Give me the Eagles for now over the Denver Broncos. I don't know. It's just, it's a tough one for me to be quite honest with you, but yeah, I guess we're going to have to go with it. All right, here we go. So we have the wow, this is gross. We have the Miami Dolphins and the Carolina Panthers here. In this one, the Dolphins are now going to be without Tyreek Hill, probably forever at this point. I would assume that that's probably going to be his swan song in the NFL. I'd be shocked if he comes back. He's a multiple time Super Bowl champion, probably a future Hall of Famer, if I'd have to guess. He probably teeters close to the edge, or not just because his career really isn't that long. But yeah, they're going to be without him for the rest of the year. Jalen Waddle has to take a massive step. Darren Waller is back, though. He did catch 2 touchdowns against the New York Jets. That's great. Never forget that Darren Waller retired to pursue a rapping career and then came back to play football and then scored two touchdowns against the Jets in his first game back on Monday Night Football. Let's not forget that. And then you get the Panthers. The Panthers are a tricky team at home. I feel like they play much better at home than they do away. They got absolutely mollywopped by the New England Patriots this past weekend, 42-13. So their defense is kind of weird because some weeks they play out of their minds and some weeks they don't. I don't know. This Dolphins team at what does that say? 61% pick. Yeah, I got to be honest with you. I don't really see the Dolphins defense for as bad as it is. I don't know, man. I just can't get behind Bryce Young until I see more consistent play. That's why at the end of last year, he was playing so well that it really gave me hope. And he just kind of has reverted at this point back to just being like, I want to get the hell out of Carolina. Dave Canales is probably the same thing. Everyone probably just wants to get their ass out of there. But, I guess give me the Dolphins in this one. Again, this is going to be something that's going to be subject to change. I kind of feel like the Carolina Panthers are just going to have one of those performances where they kind of just randomly pull it out of the hat, but whatever it may be. The Texans coming off of a really nice 26-0 first win of the season against their division rival Tennessee Titans. The Baltimore Ravens are 3-1. I'm going to just say it like this. The Baltimore Ravens are absolutely desperate. A 1-3 start, granted, against some really tough opponents. They played the Bills, they played the Chiefs, they played the Detroit Lions. Tough. They play another tough team, another tough defense, rather, at home against the Houston Texans. I don't know why the Baltimore Ravens, they have so many good defensive players and just can't play good defense. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. But I think this is a really good opponent for them because the Texans are coming off of a dominant victory, but they haven't also necessarily looked that convincing in their own right. Woody Marks, what a breakout game for him in his rookie season. That was some game from him. Maybe the Houston Texans can get a little bit more balance going on the ground now. I mean, the Ravens aren't the hardest team to run against, but I don't know. I think the Ravens are desperate. They're going to come out swinging as hard as they possibly can, and I'm going to pick the Ravens here in this one. You have the Cardinals and the Titans, and the fact of the matter is, I mean, Cam Ward said it best the other day. He said, if we're keeping it a buck, we ass. What more do you want me to say other than what the quarterback of that team just said? The Titans can't really get out of their own way. The Cardinals are coming off of a game where they looked completely out of it until about 10 minutes left in the game and then somehow almost won. So that really tells me a lot about this Arizona Cardinals team. A lot of people might look at that and be like, "Oh, that's a divisional win you have to get." And I get it. They probably should have. But first game without James Conner, kind of feeling it's a massive part of your offense, kind of feeling it out. Marvin Harrison Jr. bounced back nicely after a brutal drop early in the game. Trey McBride is Trey McBride. I think this team is going to be all right. I think the Cardinals are going to get a much needed win at home against the 0-4 Tennessee Titans. You have the Seattle Seahawks and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here. A really interesting game here for me because the Seahawks are good. The Seahawks are a good team with Sam Darnold. I mean, another really stellar performance from the offense. I know 23 points doesn't sound stellar, but the numbers were really nice against the Seattle Seahawks. They played good defense. I mean, I'm sorry, they are the Seattle Seahawks. I meant the Arizona Cardinals. But this Bucs team, man, 3-1 coming off of a loss at home to the Philadelphia Eagles, where if they got off to a little bit of a better start, you kind of feel like the Buccaneers would have been way more in that game. I feel like this Buccaneers offense is really just going to kind of punch the Seattle Seahawks in the mouth in this one. And I don't really think the Seattle Seahawks have the receiving chops to keep up with how tough that secondary can be for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I'm going to take the Buccaneers away from home here against the Seattle Seahawks. A tough one though. This could be one of those that I flip flop towards kickoff and go with the Seahawks instead. But the Bucs got it going on. The Bucs play good defense. They really know how to get the ball to their playmakers. Emeka Ibuka, Chris Godwin is back now. Hopefully Mike Evans plays. Then you got a really nice trio with Bucky Irvin, Rashad White. I mean, come on. That's a really tough offense to stop. The Lions and the Bengals, man, I wish I was more excited about this game, but the Bengals just suck without Joe Burrow. It's kind of crazy. I didn't even look at the Cincinnati Bengals box score to see what their playmakers did. I don't really think they did much, to be honest with you. I'm going to pull it up right now just because I'm genuinely curious. I mean, they only put up 3 points. Jake Browning has been, awful to say the least. He got sacked 3 times. He only completed 14 of 25. Yeah, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase was held to 5 catches for 23 yards. T. Higgins led the way, 3 catches, 32 yards. This offense is completely anemic, and I don't expect them to do anything. And the defense isn't great still, and they're going up against one of the hottest teams in football. After a dismal Week 1 performance, the Lions have come out and blown a lot of their opponents out of the water, and I firmly expect them to do that again this week against the Cincinnati Bengals. So give me the Lions over the Bengals here. This one is really tough, in my opinion. You got the Washington Commanders and the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, this hinders big time on if Jaden Daniels plays, because if he doesn't, I still think the Commanders are actually a good football team with Marcus Mariota. They've scored, 40-something points and 27 points with Mariota at the helm. They just came up a touchdown short against the Atlanta Falcons this past week. I mean, really, the team, the loss in production isn't really that significant. And I know that's a crazy statement saying that the drop in production from Jaden Daniels to Marcus Mariota hasn't been that big, but truly it really hasn't been so far this year. The Chargers are coming off of a loss where they probably should have won, to be quite honest with you, against the New York Giants. They're 3-0. I say it every time. Anytime that the Los Angeles Chargers command praise, they always somehow turn around and smack us in the face for praising them. And this was one of those instances where that happened. But I think that it's tough. I'm probably going to pick the Chargers both ways. But if Jaden Daniels plays, I'd probably lean a little bit more on the Commander side. But until we get that determination, I'm going to lead with the Chargers for now. But I'm leaving it open for the Commanders. By the way, if you're wondering, last week I did change the Commanders and the Falcons. I had the Commanders initially, and on Saturday night I changed it over to the Atlanta Falcons. Once I heard that Terry McLaurin and Jaden Daniels were both out, I changed it to the Falcons. So that's what I'm saying. These are always susceptible to change as the week goes on. The New England Patriots and the Buffalo Bills. The Bills are just firing on all cylinders, man. I mean, defensively, offensively, they're doing everything that you could ask for on both sides of the football. Josh Allen. Listen, I love Lamar Jackson. I do. I love Josh Allen. As a Jet fan, it pains me to say I love Josh Allen. I also loved Tom Brady too, so it's not that hard for me to say. But man, you cannot convince me that Lamar Jackson is an MVP over Josh Allen at this point. Josh Allen has done everything right. He's turned the football over once this year. He's put his team in position to win every single week, week in and week out. The guy is the MVP and the best quarterback in football for the foreseeable future until he is usurped by someone else, probably like a Lamar Jackson or maybe Patrick Mahomes again, who knows. But yeah, I mean, the Patriots have played some good football. They're about as good as I thought that they would be this year. They're going to be a team that I feel like is going to be around that 8-9, 9-8 record. They're going to be fighting for 500 like week in and week out. I just think they get overmatched on the offensive side in this one. Truly, they have been playing good defense for the most part this year, but I feel like the Bills are just, now Dalton Kincaid is really getting going. Khalil Shakur got going. Keon Coleman has put in a couple of really nice performances. They have a couple other receivers out there. I think the Bills are going to handle the Patriots just fine on Sunday Night Football. Then you have the final game of the week here. You have the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Kansas City Chiefs here. Again, another tough one here. The Jaguars are a team similar to the Chargers, where anytime that you praise them for doing something well, they kind of revert back to it. But the Chiefs played some really good defense against a really tough offensive opponent last week in the Baltimore Ravens. I think they could do the same thing against the Jacksonville Jaguars too, away from home. Mahomes had his best performance probably since 2023, if we're being honest with you, against the Baltimore Ravens. I think this could really get him kickstarted. And it's the perfect time, too, because Rashee Rice's 6-game suspension is coming up soon. You know, Mahomes is playing some really good ball. Rashee Rice comes back. He fits right into that offense. He adds another layer of dynamic playmaking ability to that offense. And again, the Chiefs are always going to play good defense. I'm not worried about the defensive side of the ball. The offense is what it worries me, but they really looked completely competent against the Baltimore Ravens. That's a huge sign for me. The Jaguars defense is a lot better than people are giving them credit for. I didn't expect the Jaguars defense to have to be top 10 at this point in the season. Color me impressed, but I do think the Chiefs just kind of know how to win these games, these ugly primetime games that this is probably going to be. I could see like a 22-9 or like a 25-16 win for the Kansas City Chiefs here. So give me the Kansas City Chiefs here to round out our pick'em for week 5. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. There is my week 5 pick'em for the 2025-26 NFL season. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Let me know what games you would change. Thank you guys so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope I see you in the next one.